What's the greatest obstacle or challenge facing you on your path to becoming financially free? For most of us, it's the time it takes to even focus on it. We're so busy with our lives that we don't even know where to start. Come join Joey and I and the team in Nashville, Tennessee, August 9th through the 11th, as we break down the different ways that you can become financially free and introduce you to different strategies and speakers who can help you on that first step.
You have questions? This event is designed to give you the answers, to take action fast, to turn the decades it's taken us to learn this and turn them into days. Don't hesitate. Go to wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/live. And don't forget to use the promo code podcast to get a deep discount.
Wealth Without Wall Street Tribe, get ready to learn everything you can possibly know about the vending machine business with our friend Mike Hoffmann in the house. Welcome.
Thanks, Joey. Thanks, Russ. Excited to be here.
No pressure. Don't leave out anything. Mike, why vending machines?
It's kind of a unique story, but I was actually the classic W-2 employee pre-COVID in all these layovers in airports, traveling 3 weeks out of the month. My wife wanted to kill me, and I would go to a vending machine in the airport, and I would see these things, and they were either empty or they were just marked up ridiculous prices, and I knew I was giving someone business. And so that's when I dug in and wanted to learn some more.
So what did you do? So you're seeing these vending machines. Were you seeing dollar signs? Were you like, there's opportunity here?
Yeah, I was seeing these bottles of water that you could get at 18 cents from Costco, and I was paying $4 in the Denver airport, and someone was making a massive margin off of me.
So what did you do next?
So that's when I started reading up a little bit about vending. And what you don't probably know is actually Warren Buffett's first investment was in a vending machine business when he was 18 in Omaha, Nebraska. And he regrets to this day selling that route for a quick buck when he was in college. So the more I read on it and the more, I was like, this just almost seems too good to be true. But that's when I just tried to kind of double down and see what we could do with it.
So you immediately go out and talk to all the gurus on vending machines. You follow their process to a T, and now you're successful, right?
I wish it was that easy. It was definitely a trial and error for sure. But I actually, after reading up there was a Wall Street Journal article about a guy making 20 grand a month off of vending machines, working 15 hours a week. And when you're on a long flight back from your corporate job, travel, I was like, okay, I got to test this out. So I just walked into what I thought would be a high traffic location, an apartment complex, and asked if they had vending. And they said no, and asked would I be able to provide a vending machine. And thank God for Dr. Google, because that's when the figure it out all started.
So you just walked in a building and said, hey, do you guys have vending machines here? And the lady's like, no, but if you could put one here, we'd love it.
Like, did you have a shirt that said vending? Hey, I do vending machines or something? Like, if I walked into a apartment complex and just asked that question, they would never ask me, could I provide them? Like, what was it about you that they were like, hey, Mike, you look like you have vending machines. Like, let's make this happen.
Yeah, I think it was more my background's in human performance. So I was like kind of framing it as this healthy option for your residents. It was a Class A building for sure. So more the modern approach to snacks and drinks that kind of got them really excited. They didn't care about, if I was getting a vending machine from China or Des Moines, Iowa, which is where I ended up getting it from a manufacturer in Iowa. But it was a classic, create a mess and figure out how to clean it up later type of situation.
All right. So walk us through the steps. What is required to get started in the vending machine? Take us back to that very first one that you did.
Yeah. So keep in mind, Russ, I didn't know where to go find a vending machine. I walked into this building and I was like, hey, do you guys have vending? The manager was like, no, we don't. Can you offer this? And I said yes, not knowing what I got into. So left that meeting, did a couple Google searches. There's a company out of the Midwest in Iowa that has a very good reputation in this. The thing that I was excited about them the most was they had a ton of YouTube videos that were all how-tos. And I was like, okay, if I'm going to figure this out, here we go. Like how to fit a vending machine through a doorway, to how to set the prices, to how to unwrap the thing off of a pallet. And so here we go. Talk to them. They were like, oh yeah, there's no money down and you don't have to make your first payment on the 60-month term for 90 days. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to do 90 days of sales, no money down, and I can take the profits from the first 90 days and put it down on the principal of the 60-day loan. This seems like way too good to be true. And so that's what kicked me off on the whole process.
All right. So I'm just going to repeat what I just heard. You don't have any like special license or anything. You go online, you order from a manufacturer who requires no money down, and 90 days later, your first payment, and you're like, I've just struck gold, right? Like, how many of these can I do? That's the question going through my head. Now, what did that lead you to? You got the one in place and you had to like test it. What was the results like in the first 90 days?
Yeah, exactly. So I think we did maybe $750 in month one of revenue, easy math, profits, 50 to 60% of that. Then we did 900 in month two. And then by month three, once you know what products they want and how to double down on those type of products, is it a healthier clientele? Is it a Class C clientele? Now we're way over $1,000 a month on that one machine per month, and it's just on autopilot now.
What does one of these machines cost? You mentioned that you're not going to have to make a payment for 90 days. Are these like $100,000 machine, $10,000? Like what? And how long are you financing over? So really, what is the cost to make the payment on the machine every month? Obviously, we know what it costs to buy goods, but what's the amortization on this machine look like?
Yeah, so Russ, we just installed a machine last Thursday, same manufacturer, no money down. Interest rates are a little bit higher than they were back in 2017. So I think we're at 8.99%. Our monthly payment is $170. That machine that we installed last Thursday is doing $100 a day already. And it's just at a fitness center I drove by where the parking lot was full. And I was like, oh my gosh, you want to talk about foot traffic? I'm going to go do a pop in. And now this thing's going to pay for our nanny.
All right. So that's my next question is, where's the best location for these things? Obviously, traffic areas with lots of foot traffic, but talk through what do those look like? Where are you putting machines?
Yeah, so foot traffic's kind of the decision tree criteria. So it kind of breaks off into 2 points. You got your businesses. So you're thinking places with high employee count. You're thinking the oil lube station that's going to have a lot of people in the lobby. You're thinking DMVs. And then you got your residential, which is where I started my first kind of, when I had the training wheels on, it was like apartment complexes, one main entrance, one decision maker, just go in. If they're happy, they'll get us to their sister properties. So you got kind of that residential and then the high employee, high foot traffic-y type properties.
And of those types of locations, are you finding that there's a trend that some of them are more like hungry for this kind of service? No pun intended. I mean,
yeah, we found a really good niche, especially coming out of COVID with this. Right now, commercial real estate is hurting. I mean, you guys know it better than me. And so they're trying to find every amenity to either keep occupancy high, whether it's residents or whether it's bringing people back in the office or fill their space. Like on the commercial real, like we just went and did a meeting in downtown Chicago. It's a 100-story building. They're at 40% occupancy and their lobby traffic is still 1,200 people a day. So they want to put this in the lobby, this whole unattended convenience store concept to try to drum up new tenants into the building.
So are they also trying to gain revenue off of you? Like, are you paying them rent or are you doing some sort of rev share?
Yeah, it's a really good question, Russ. So we have 21 properties now, and I think 5 out of the 21 we're paying a revenue share as part of that agreement. The other 16 are just viewing this as an amenity they didn't have.
So does that mean it's free?
Yeah, absolutely. Because we're paying for the machine. So they're like, wow, we can put this shiny $6,000 machine in our lobby at no cost to us, no cost for inventory. We don't have to stock it. And now our employees are happy.
And are you paying electrical, like power for it?
No.
This is jackpot.
I mean, this is so much better than the ice vending machine that we have. We pay rent and electric and water and make no money.
Yeah, you guys are, yeah.
What was the last part? It sounds like you got cut off there.
You guys are hosed?
I think you fell for something that wasn't as good as what you were sold.
Oh my goodness. Yes. Tribe, that is definitely true. Okay, let's
How much will you trade? How many vending machines will you trade straight up for an ice maker? Just hypothetically speaking.
All right, so let's get a real question in here. All right, so here's the beauty of our ice vending machine, Mike. It doesn't require us to go down there and attend to it. Nobody else goes to it either, but it doesn't require our time. So talk to me about what does it cost or what is the maintenance and management of running this vending machine look like?
Yeah, so simple math, every machine takes about a half hour to stock. And ideally you're there twice a week or your operator or someone, your daughter, whoever. It's such a simple concept that a lot of people will just have their kids do it, but it takes about a half hour, and hopefully you're doing it twice a week, because that means sales are really good. If the sales are average, you're only there once a week. And then, as long as you're consistent, it doesn't matter if you do it in the morning, at night, on Sunday, on Thursday, just do it consistently once a week or twice a week, depending on how well it's doing.
And how often do you know if, like you mentioned, you hope you're going twice a week, or you just having to stop by there to say, hey, are the sticker bars gone, or, is the energy drinks low? What does that look like?
Yeah, this is an interesting point, Russ, because we track all our inventory from our phone. So I can, I got machines in 3 different states. I can track the inventory of all of them wherever they're at. I can even track cash levels. So even if they use cash, I can still track what comes through via the app connected to the machine. So that's really fascinating. But I do think it's an important comment you make, because if you think of the baby boomer generation and the people that are selling vending routes these days, they don't have this new technology on the machine. So the only way they're tracking inventory is by going by the machine. Well, guess what? Humans are lazy. So what do people stop doing? They stop going by the machine. Well, the only thing worse than having a vending machine, or not having a vending machine, is having a machine that's empty. Well, so we're taking a lot of market share by just installing new machines where you can track inventory remotely, because the baby boomer generation, like my dad, they don't even know how to use a cell phone. They're not tracking inventory from an app.
So you're making sure that the value that you're adding at a place is staying at the top it can be by keeping it stocked. But talk about the person, like you talked about baby boomer or people being lazy. For instance, Russ, if I said, hey, you can make all this money doing vending machines, he's like, yeah, but I'm not going to drive out there. I'm not going to go to Costco and get all the sticker bars and put them in my car and then take them out there and all this sort of thing. Who are you getting to operate these, or is it all stuff that you're doing yourself?
No. Well, I recommend that you actually learn the process first, just because you can't delegate something you don't know what you're delegating. But yeah, the whole idea, especially being Mr. Passive, is trying to make everything systemized. So when we first hired our first helper or operator, we posted an ad on Craigslist, because where I live, there's no Thumbtack or Angie's List. It's a town of 100,000 people. So in that first 48 hours, we had 40 applicants. And we just made it very simple. $20 an hour cash. After 90 days, you might get a raise to $25 an hour. Long term, you might get a percentage of profit or equity. But and we don't care if you stock in the morning or night, Tuesday, Sunday. It needs to be done consistently. So do it around your schedule. So we had everything from college students to, people that were trying to find side hustle to everything. And then you just got to screen them. And that's what people that came in, we'd make them answer a questionnaire, and we just kind of filtered through. And now the guy I literally hired for 3 hours at $20 an hour. That's all I could afford. That's all I needed for 3 machines at the beginning. And now I've been able to bring him away from his W-2, and he works for me, and every day he's able to drop his kids off from school and pick him up at 2 p.m. And like, I don't care, as long as he gets his machines done, we're making money.
So you have 21 machines currently. What is the opportunity here for you? What do you see this growing to?
Yeah, I think there's a huge play here in this whole unattended space. If you think of, there's kind of two angles. You think of anywhere humans don't want to talk to humans. Like you go to the grocery store and self-checkout is now just as busy as waiting in line for a normal checkout because people don't want to just go talk to someone, small talk. They're in a hurry. Same thing. You can see this with vending. Vending is becoming this whole concept of you just grab something, it charges your card with AI cameras. I think the second piece of this too, where it's really fascinating, is the digital ad space. You know, you think of Birmingham, I'm sure UAB would love to sell season tickets to all the apartment residents where your vending machine is at. So you think of this whole digital ads revenue stream, and then you think of people paying you for shelf space. Just like Coke wants to be at the front of the grocery store and put Pepsi in the back. Well, now they want to be in your vending machine and put Pepsi, out of business. So I think there's a ton of revenue streams here with technology that didn't exist when people first started vending routes 20 years ago.
Tribe, listen up. We're entering into the election year. This is the time where people are going to get super fearful. We're going to see businesses start to dry up. We're going to see opportunities, though, pile up for us only if we're prepared.
That's right. You get to choose right now. Will you allow this time frame to negatively affect you in your business and your investments? Or will you be prepared to take advantage of these huge opportunities that come on the backside of this because you're prepared with cash?
Let's get our house in order. If you haven't already maximized the infinite banking concept in your life, here's the chance for you to start learning. Go to wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/IBC. Take our free webinar so that you can start getting equipped with the things that you need to know so that you can take action on this looming event.
Okay, I have to stop and ask a further question on the digital ads. Are you saying that the new vending machines, I haven't seen these, they have some place on the machine that will have like a ticker or like a screen that changes that you're selling those spaces?
Absolutely. So a lot of these new machines have HD screens, and you can control the B-roll that goes across these screens. So if you talk to an apartment complex that's, let's say it's June, they're trying to get a bunch of renewals of their leases in by August, you can give them ad space. But also, let's say, downtown Chicago, the Cubs want access to those residents. So you can sell ad space to the Cubs of like, okay, we got a weekend series with the Cardinals, 10% off tickets if you go through this QR code. And now on the ad, all they got to do is pull up their phone and they're geo-targeted based on that property.
That is amazing. Yeah, I had no idea that those things even existed. And so is that stuff that you're implementing into your routes as we speak, or is that something you've done from day one? Like how does that work? No,
that's definitely something we're just starting to implement. This is the evolution of, even in the years I'm would consider myself relatively new to this 7 years, and just over the last 7 years, the types of machines that have been coming out. I mean, literally, they're just smart fridges with locks and AI cameras that charge you based on the credit card that was used to unlock the door. It's not the hardware side is an easy thing to evolve, and now you just tie that in with all these other kind of software sides of things to create revenue.
The part that we found to be really hard, other than making money in this ice vending space, was finding a location that would say yes. I mean, we went to several places, reached out to places. We're trying to find someone that let us put this ice machine there. What percentage of people do you talk to will say yes? Like, I mean, in essence, if I went to 10 apartment complexes or 10 schools or 10 gyms that didn't already have it, right? What percentage of them do you think would say yes to us?
If they didn't already have it, I mean, this is very, you're spot on. This is the limiting factor, number of locations for different decisions. A lot of ownership groups just don't want, they think traditional vending and they run away. But as far as our hit rate, if someone will take a meeting our close rate on the location is typically 80%. Now, getting that meeting is always the hardest part. And so you got to really position yourself in a way that's a win-win-win or a win-win for you and the property. A lot of times, if we're talking apartment complexes, you got the property management group and then you got the ownership group. Well, the property management group cares about keeping residents happy. The ownership group cares about making revenue. So if you can create that win-win-win where we're going to keep it stocked with items the residents want, and then we're going to give you a kickback from a revenue perspective, that could be a win-win-win in this case.
That's exactly what I was about to ask, Russ, is like, what are the downfalls? Like, everything sounds really good. You know, it's easy, low barrier of entry to get into for someone who's willing to hustle and get out there and have conversations with people, look for high traffic places, and then get these positioned. It seems like there's not a lot that can go wrong. What have you seen that can go wrong, if anything?
Yeah, well, I think back to that point, though, Joey, it's also important to recognize vending is not priority. So if you guys are just starting in the ice vending game, like these decision makers are putting fires out all day. So they're going to come back to you when someone comes to the front desk and complains that there's no ice in the lobby. Like that's when they're going to go to their email and Google, wait, I got hit up by some person that emailed me about an ice vending machine. This happens all the time with our outreach, as we'll get responses 12 months later and you ask, well, what made you reach out to us? And they're like, oh, a resident complained or an employee is not happy that we have no break room snacks or whatever. But as far as what goes wrong, I think, you know, the reality of the situation is humans are not, you know, like consistency. I think you got to screen people because the vending machine does need stock. So you got to make sure you trust people that are going to be there once a week. Consistency. It's simple. Finding that right person that is always just passionate about doing quality work, repeatable, is rare today. So you got to really filter through the BS because it is your brand of that operator that's going to stock your machine.
How do you control the skim? How do you know what percentage of the money's not getting to you that's getting pocketed, as well as, hey, I went and bought 10 candy bars and I'm hungry today, so Twix is, you know, number one thing I eat.
Yeah, so I think the first thing, Russ, is when you're ordering product, when you first start out and you hire an operator, that operator might just take candy from point A to point B. You're ordering all the inventory. You're going to pull out the cash from the machine once a month. So like all those kind of things you're unsure about. Oh, I don't want to give them my credit card to go order off Costco.com or go use it at Sam's Club or whatever. You can kind of, as you're building that rapport with the person, all they're doing is moving the candy from point A to point B. So that's simple. If you order 24 Snickers and you run out at 22 and you only sold 22 on the machine, that's a simple inventory report on your vending machine based on what you ordered when you filled the machine. But as far as the trust factor, this cash is tracked via your app in the machine. So if they pull out $500 and the app showing $550, you know there was a $50 bill or 51s missing from what came into the machine versus what came out of the machine that went into your bank account.
Are most of your machines still cash based, or are you seeing some or all of them transition to more credit card?
We have a good mixture of all the above. I mean, 80% of our sales of even the machines that take cash are with credit card. We just installed it's called a smart machine. It's literally just a point of sale with no coin, nothing. It's literally just a credit card reader that you put on to unlock the door. That thing's doing $100 a day and it's card only. That's at a college apartment here right across from the University of Oregon. And I mean, the kids, they don't even carry any cash.
Is this only available to me if I have like this locally, or are you seeing this being able to be done remotely as well?
Oh, you could totally do it remotely. Absolutely. I just bought a vending route in Chicago last month, and it's a total remote thing. And I'm actually I hired an operator that I'm paying, but I'm also paying him a property management fee. So I'm kind of taking a play out of the real estate playbook to incentivize him while also owning the route remotely.
Oh, I'm loving this more and more, Russ. Now, before we get into the fact that you have a course that you're teaching people this, so you have students. And by the way, Tribe, if you want access, go to wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/vending, where you can learn all these things and how to contact Mike and all these things. But before we get into, I would love for you to share a case study of one of your students. But before you do that, on average, with an operator per machine, just to give people like a vision of what's possible, what would you say is like a conservative number per month somebody could expect if they're following your process in your course?
Yeah, so a good location is going to do, I mean, this fitness center we installed last week is going to do $3,000, and that's just a average Joe vending machine because we were very unsure of a foot traffic in a gym. Now, on average, a normal machine is going to do $1,500 to $2,000 a month in revenue. So you're profiting, let's say 50% because you're hiring an operator. So you're not running the route yourself. You're not doing the stocking. If you were to do that all yourself, your margins might be upwards of 60%. But because you're hiring an operator to do that, that's where your margins come down a little bit. And then I think from a case study perspective, everyone in our community, they didn't study vending machines. They didn't study, this was not their day job. And a lot of them, it's not their day job. We got like Chuck, and he's literally a firefighter in freaking Denver, that he has a 15-year-old daughter or, kid. This is the college fund for his kids. And he needed a cash flowing asset. He has some Airbnbs and some long-term rentals, but he wanted something that was a lot less capital intensive that his kids could run and take ownership of as they got older. They could drive now, kind of all of those fun things. So we have a lot of case studies like that. It's really interesting in our community. I was thinking, it's going to be a lot of these side hustle, passive income type personas that join our community. 95% of our community are moms or dads. And that's fascinating to me because the whole reason I got into vending in the first place was when I found out my wife was pregnant. And you start to like, how am I going to pay for daycare? How am I going to pay for college? You hear all the horror stories as a parent. And I didn't want to change our lifestyle. So that's what got me into this initially. So, there's a lot of case studies like that where, Brett in South Carolina, he got into it because his 16-year-old wants to go to a really expensive college someday. And so there's just random nuggets where people got into this, not because vending's easy, vending's get rich quick, because it's not. It's none of those two things. It's a stable income stream that you just need to be consistent with.
Is there an opportunity to get 20, 30, 50 of these running and then ultimately just sell those off? Are you seeing that? Or is it the people who own these are just keeping them forever?
Yeah, so this is you talk about case studies, Joey. So Russ, the vending route I just bought in Chicago, it was one of our vendingpreneurs. He signed up for my program last July. We got him 4 locations in the loop. It's been doing $9,000 a month in revenue. And he's like, hey, I'm moving for family reasons. I'm moving back to Minneapolis. I don't want to run this remotely. It's downtown in the loop. So like the whole idea of storage and all of that he just wasn't feeling it. So this guy's doing $9,000 a month. And I just bought the route for $85,000, which is a huge bargain. And so you could sell typically 1.5 to 2x multiple on yearly revenue is what you can sell it for. But because he just started last July, he didn't even have 12 months of financials. And he was going to take this other guy's bid for $80,000. I was like, dude, no, you can't. Like, let's keep it in the tribe. I'll buy the route. I'll hire someone else to run it remotely. But I mean, the guy started last July, financed all his machines, got up to $9,000 a month in revenue, and now he just sold it for $85,000 to me.
Man, all right. So you mentioned that there's a course. Talk to me about like how easy is it for Joey to follow, or do I have to do it for him?
That's a good question. We try to make it as simple as possible. I come from the software world, so if I have to repeat myself twice, I get frustrated. So this has got to be as simple as possible for everyone involved. But there are the I don't want to call Joey a dummies of the world, but there are the people that need a little more hand holding, and that's what we do. So literally A to Z, how to approach your first meeting. We find leads for people, and then what to set the prices, where to find the product, like we want this to be as out of the box as possible.
And are there options to like employ your team to help maybe find those locations, set those meetings?
Yeah, that's how we started. That was my number one thing, is the number one friction for people to be successful in vending is finding leads. And so that's where I went down this path of hiring cold callers. And then that was, kind of back to the vertical integration approach. That was my biggest business expense. So I brought those callers in house. I could have more control. So yeah, absolutely, Russ. When people sign up for our program, they'll send us a radius. We'll find those leads of those high traffic criteria we talked about earlier. And then we call in on behalf of you. So we work for, Russ's daughter and UAB Vending, and we try to schedule you meetings.
All right. Well, I'm just going to tell you, Trav, by the time you're listening to this, I'm going to already have Birmingham and the surrounding area locked down, because I've got plenty of daughters heading off to college. I got nephews that are in college. Like, I see this as such an opportunity for them to be involved in something. And it just seems fairly simple. And I'm sure there's going to be some obstacles here that we have to overcome. But like, if you're pulling out of the cash flow pile, this seems like a small deal that you stack up and then it becomes a big deal. That'd be a fair assessment.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Stallion. I know that you're chomping at the bit to get going, but the first thing we have to do is let Mike off the line and get back on the call with him separately to figure out how to do this personally. And Tribe, if you found value in this and you want to hit Mike up and learn more about this, go to westwallstreet.com/vending and figure out how this could help you on your path to becoming financially free. Mike, thank you so much again for coming on the show.
Thank you, guys. This was a lot of fun, and thanks for everything you do.
Tribe, have an amazing day.
This has been the Wealth Without Wall Street podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to the show to break free of the Wall Street mindset and begin building wealth on your own terms in places you understand, so that your wealth will never run dry. See you next episode.